So, throughout the years, I've told many stories of crazy girlfriends, crazy moms, crazy dads, crazy everything, right? But I've never really talked about crazy girlfriend and mom at the same time. So, I have this one story time. It's definitely one of a kind. And I thought you guys would all enjoy hearing about it. So, I hope you enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do. And let's get into it. So, today's story time all takes place back in 2017. Yeah, I was living out in California at the time, but I was just about to move home, so I had probably a month left on my lease out in LA, and I actually had a girlfriend back in my hometown that I was moving back to in New York, and she was cool. Honestly, her family was a little much, but she wasn't nearly as bad as they were. And when I say a little much, I mean kind of invasive. Every time I go to her house when I was visiting New York and hang out with her, they would come downstairs and come in the living room when we were watching a movie and interrupt and start asking me really weird personal questions that most people don't ask you. They were asking me the exact amount of money I make off YouTube every year and asking me if I can help them. Her dad one time asked me to shout out his business in a video, and it was just really weird, just stuff that you don't usually ask someone of. It was kind of rude, to be honest. But at the end of the day, none of that mattered to me because my girlfriend at the time was a hell of a lot better than they were. She didn't inherit a lot of those leechy weird traits that they seemed to have, and that was good. And unfortunately, 2 months later, it all had to go to shit. So like I said, around this time, I was technically still living out in California. So one day in 2017, 2 months after I'd visited New York, I was in my apartment in LA, just chilling in my bedroom on my phone, right? And I get a FaceTime call from my girlfriend. And I answer it. I'm like, hello. She's like, hey, guess what? And I'm like, what's up? And she's like, my family's going to visit San Diego in a week, and I'm going to come with them. And that's only 2 hours from LA, so I figured we could hang out. And I actually had a flight planned the next week to go to Atlanta for an event that I had planned for months. And I was like, shit. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, well, the problem is I'm going to an event next week and I'm not going to be here for very long. I'll probably have a day or two that I'm here before I leave. I mean, I'm happy to hang out then, but it won't be very long. And naturally, she was pretty upset about that. And so was I. I literally wanted to see my girlfriend. It had been 2 months since I'd seen her in person. But we just decided, I can't cancel this event. I'd had it planned for a long time and the flights were already booked. So we just agreed to see each other for those 2 days that I was going to be in town. And then the rest of the week I was going to go to the event. So, fast forward, she landed in San Diego. I actually came to her instead of her coming all the way out to LA, which was a 2.5 hour drive. I went to her because I just wanted to make her life easier. Plus, since I had to go on that trip soon, I didn't want to make her drive out there just for a couple days. So I went to see her, hung out with her for both days. It was great. Her mom was with her. They were on this vacation together. Like I said, her mom was kind of, annoying, just like her dad. They would ask me these really weird questions, and she asked me a few on the trip. Honestly, there's too many to name. But like I said, my girlfriend was all that mattered to me. So after those 2 days, I went back to LA, got ready for my flight, flew to Atlanta, and this is really where the story time truly starts to get a little interesting, okay? So in my apartment in LA, I have cameras set up inside, not outside, but inside, so I can take a look and make sure no one's breaking in, make sure everything's good, make sure my place isn't on fire or something. The main reason I had these cameras is because back in the day, my friend made me babysit his dog when he was on vacation, and I bought those cameras to make sure that when I was out of the apartment for a few minutes or an hour, his dog wasn't ripping up my shit or pissing everywhere or just being a bad boy. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm glad that I had them because afterwards I could just use them to make sure no one's breaking in. But anyway, yeah, I had these cameras. That's all you need to know, right? And yeah, I touched down in Atlanta. I was there for about 2 days. And then I was at the event that I was there to go to. And at the event, my phone goes off with a notification. And it's from the app that I use for the cameras. And it says movement detected. Keep in mind, in my place in LA, there was nobody there. There was no pets. There was nothing there. No windows were open, so nothing could have fallen over from a breeze. Nobody was in my apartment. So when I get a movement detected notification, I kind of shit myself a little bit because it means that someone probably broke in. So I swipe open the notification. I'm hoping while it's loading this video that it's not going to be what I think it is. And it's just going to be a piece of furniture falling over or something. Just anything but somebody breaking in. And after 20 seconds, the video loads. And sure enough, I see somebody climbing through my window. And then I see somebody else climbing through my window. And they look really familiar. They look a little too familiar. It's my girlfriend and her mom. And I'm like, yo, why the fuck is my girlfriend and her mother breaking into my apartment right now? So naturally, I immediately close the app and I call my girlfriend because I want to know why she's in my apartment. And she answers the phone and she's like, hello? And I was like, hey, what you up to? And she's like, not much, just hanging out at the hotel. And I was like, the hotel, huh? In San Diego? She's like, yeah, where else would I be? And I was like, you're not in LA? She goes, no. And I go, you're not in my apartment right now, walking around with your mother? And immediately she hangs up. Like, didn't even give it a second. Like, instantly hung up on me. So I text her, and I was like, listen, you got 1 minute to get out of my apartment and give me an explanation right now. Because I don't want to call the cops, but if I have to, I will. There's no excuse for you guys to be entering my place when I'm not there without my permission. And a minute later, I checked the cameras, and they were gone. And I saw them leaving. I saw the little video of them climbing back out the window. And like 2 minutes after that, she texted me this paragraph, right? Basically saying that she was there because she was insecure that I was cheating on her. Which makes no fucking sense. I had never given any indication or any kind of like suspicion that I was cheating on her. I guess she just had some hunch based on the way I had been acting recently, and she thought that that justified her going all the way to LA, which is a 2.5-hour drive, and then breaking into my window and going into my apartment and snooping around for clues like a fucking detective or some shit. So I replied, and I was like, you gotta understand how ridiculous that is, right? Like, you just had a hunch that I was cheating, and your own mother backed it, and you broke into my place? And she just kept saying the same thing after this. She's like, I'm sorry, I know I'm wrong. Like, it's just insecurity, I gotta work on it, I'm sorry. But then she said something really ridiculous. She goes, it was my mom's idea, I didn't want to go with it. And I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, I didn't want to throw her under the bus, but yeah, it was. I was like, give me your mom's number right now. And she's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I just want to talk to her. I really want to know like what was going through her head. And she's like, just be nice. I'm like, I will. And she gives me the number. I call her mom. It rings like twice. She picks up and she's like, hello. And I was like, hey, this is Austin, your daughter's boyfriend. And she's like, oh, hey, Austin, I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. I'm like, no, just hold on. Before you start talking. What does she mean when she says it was your idea? Like, I got to know. And she was like, listen, I had a suspicion. You're living out in LA, you're in Hollywood. She's living all the way across the country. You get all these followers. I just don't trust it. I thought that you were maybe being unfaithful to her, and I wanted to see if that was true. And I was like, okay, so your idea of that was to not hit me up and ask me, or like ask around people that know me for any kind of like clues that I was cheating. Instead, you go to my apartment 2.5 hours away from where you guys are staying, and you commit an illegal crime. You break into my place to try and find some clue that I'm cheating on your daughter. You really think that's like a good idea in your adult head? And she was like, no, honestly, that was probably the most immature thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm embarrassed. Please don't blame my daughter for this. Like, thank you for not calling the police. And she just went on this whole rant basically about how she was wrong, I was right. And I didn't care. Like, she still did it, which is all that mattered to me. That's all that pissed me off. So after like 5 minutes of her being like, oh, I'm so sorry, you're so right, I'm so wrong, it was bullshit, and I could tell. So I was just like, it's all right, whatever, like, have a good one. And I hung up on her. And shortly after that, I called my girlfriend and broke up with her because even though it was her mom's idea and what she did was probably not completely orchestrated by herself, she still did it. You don't go breaking into your boyfriend's place because you're insecure. That's not a good enough excuse. You don't get to go do things like that because you're insecure about the relationship. That's just not cool. So yeah, this whole situation cost my relationship, cost my trust with this girl, and also made me lose a little bit of faith in some of the adult generation, because what kind of adult thinks that's a good idea to try and catch someone cheating? Let's go break into their place. And they broke in, by the way. When I went home from Atlanta, I checked the window that they came in from, and one of the locks was completely snapped off. So the window only had one lock on it. The other one fell off a long time ago or something before I moved in. So there was only one lock. So it was pretty easy to get open, even if it was locked, if you pushed hard enough. So yeah, they snapped my window lock. They broke the window to get into my apartment and snoop around. So I think out of every relationship I've ever had, and all the ways they've ended, and all the crazy things I've dealt with throughout all of them, This has got to be one of the weirdest, most just what the fuck ones. Because, like, where do you get the nerve to do that to somebody? And obviously it goes without saying, but moral of the story is don't break into people's apartments or homes. That's just not okay. It's literally illegal. I don't care how suspicious you are of your significant other. You can't break into their house because it's not legal. So don't do that. But yeah, guys, that's the story of how my girl and her mom broke into my apartment in LA to try and catch me cheating, and then I broke up with her. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.